Tim and Kelly started dating in high school. Tim would bring Kelly out to the farm.
I really do believe that the two of them would eventually be married, that they would be a couple for life.
Tim and Kelly were going to go to a wedding reception at the Concord house.
Tim and Kelly get to the Concord house at approximately 10:30 p.m. They're there for approximately half an hour, 45 minutes. Witnesses say that Tim had a beer and Kelly had a soda during the time they were there, and there are witnesses that see them leave.
The next morning, get up and get work done. Except when you got up in the morning and Tim wasn't there, instantly there was a level of concern.
We called Kelly's mom and said, did they stay there? She said no. I drove up to the Concord house to look. Tim's car was still there. The door wasn't quite shut, and his wallet was still in the car. From there on, we finally realized Tim and Kelly are gone.
In the first 4 days, they were talking to all the employees from the Concord house. We're talking to wedding guests.
One consistent thing that was reported was that there was this dark, dirty van that had been in the parking lot. One witness specifically recalled the van taking off, sort of in a suspicious fashion, in a quick way.
The Concord house itself was right next to the interstate. There's a big parking lot. There's not a lot of lighting or anything out there. If you were intent on abducting somebody, all you had to do was wait for the right moment.
A teenager on his tractor had seen something as he was driving that caught his eye. A pair of pants, just like Kelly had been wearing on the night that she disappeared. Both the left and the right leg are completely cut from the ankle all the way up to the waist. And so in other words, the pants could have still been on her body, but they had been cut away.
It just magnified what I had thought all along, that someone had definitely raped her.
Over the course of 10 days, multiple pieces of clothing belonging to Kelly are found along the roadway within a 6-mile radius of the Concord house, as well as about a dozen pieces of rope with various knots tied in it. Squirrel hunters from Milwaukee are out in the Ixonia, Wisconsin area, which is approximately 7 miles from the Concord house. While they're walking through a wooded area, they stumble across a body. The body was badly decomposed. Approximately 100 yards away, they locate a male body that's fully clothed and appears to be the same clothing that Tim was reported to have been wearing on August 9th, 1980.
The manner of death for both of them was homicide. Kelly was most possibly strangled based on damage and insect activity around the throat area. So then these pieces of rope we're finding along the roadsides become extremely significant.
There's the regular square knot, but there's also half hitches, clove hitches, bowline knots. This is somebody with knowledge of knot tying, somebody that's been in the Navy or the military or in the trades, like a carpenter, maybe a painter. It's not going to just be your everyday person that's going to tie these types of knots.
The case remains cold for more than 2 decades. The Hack family is forced to move on without their oldest son.
I was 8 years old at the time Tim and Kelly went missing. So when I first was elected district attorney, I was well aware of this case, and I wanted to know what happened to Tim and Kelly.
Knowing what a big case this was after being unsolved for so long, it immediately became my #1 goal to solve this case. At that time, DNA is becoming more and more popular. The DNA located on Kelly's pants and underwear was from seminal fluid. One evening, I received a phone call. It was a female who identifies herself as April. She said, "I think my dad could be responsible for Tim and Kelly. I think he killed them." And she said his name is Edward Wayne Edwards. She tells me about a book that he had written that she said would explain more about her father back in the early 70s. Edwards appears on numerous talk shows and game shows with this book about his life as a master criminal. In the late 60s, Edwards was on the FBI 10 Most Wanted list. He was a suspect in a double homicide in Portland, Oregon.
As I read the book, what was so interesting was he exhibited all of the classic signs of, the stereotypical signs of a serial killer. He was a bedwetter. He had an affinity for starting fires. He was extremely controlling.
For some serial killers, the need to put on a normal face to interact with members of society and have access to victims is very important. In fact, if they looked unusual or weird or bizarre, they might not get to approach victims in the way that they need to.
In addition to that, Edwards' daughter, April, had told me her dad was in the military, that he had been dishonorably discharged from the military.
So Ed Edwards knows how to tie these knots.
I had him on my suspect list. Edwards was interviewed in early September of 1980. He did not know anything about Tim Kelly's disappearance. The one thing that stuck out to me was that he had a broken nose. He said it was a deer hunting incident that caused the rifle to kick back and caused the broken nose. That seemed odd to me. Gun deer hunting in Wisconsin is November, not in August. Once I found out where Edwards had lived, I talked to the landlord that took care of the house. He said that Edwards lived in that house for a brief time and then moved to another state shortly after the disappearance of Tim and Kelly. Edwards had a van. He kept a .357 revolver in the van. This van adds up with the van that was spotted that night. Everything was making sense. I think I know what happened to Tim and Kelly. Edwards was waiting in the parking lot. Kelly fit the profile he was looking for. Tim, being a strong farm boy, got a good swing in on Edwards, causing the broken nose. And that's when Tim was stabbed. There's no telling what happened in the van, but we know that Kelly was raped and strangled to death. He was in a wheelchair, on oxygen, very overweight, and not in very good health. Throughout the entire time that we spoke with him, he acted very nonchalant, like it didn't matter that we were there at all.
For some serial killers, it is a game. Given Edwards' age, it might have been this was his last opportunity to manipulate law enforcement.
When I asked him to provide a sample of his DNA so that we could test it, he said that he had no problem doing that. He thinks he's smarter than us. After 29 years, he's thinking, what DNA are we going to have? How are we going to prove this? Turns out it's a match. During the final hour or two of the interview, we asked him if he could explain the seminal fluid DNA being on Kelly's clothes.
So then he comes up with the most unbelievable story.
All right, I had sex with her.
You had sex with the young lady who died?
Yes.
Okay, that explains why. Consensual?
With me? Yes. Oh, yes.
Not forcible, not...
Oh, no. It was consensual.
Tim and Kelly were joined at the hip. Kelly Drew's not going to go off and willingly have sex with Ed Edwards in a cornfield.
I went back to see if maybe there was something he said that I didn't pick up on, or maybe there were certain movements he made to tell me when he was lying.
Her boyfriend.
As I'm watching the video, something struck me. He said something sort of under his breath.
We probably rewound it, 1,000 times, trying to make sure that we heard what we heard.
And after listening to it repeatedly and having many others listen to it repeatedly, everyone agreed that what he said is,
I killed her.
damn it, I killed her.
I killed her.
To hear him say, damn it, I killed her. It's a goosebump moment.
Ultimately, he pleads guilty to killing Tim and Kelly.
Edwards confesses to killing his foster son, Danny.
Edwards was an over-the-road truck driver that traveled to California in the late 60s. Because of this, some people believe Edward Wayne Edwards is the Zodiac killer.
Some of the links include the fact that Edwards was a drifter and he could have been in California at this time, the fact that Edwards killed couples, and that the Zodiac killer also killed couples.
Symbols that are used to sign off on the Zodiac letters consist of 13 symbols. Edward Edwards is 13 letters, and his birth name of Charles Murray is 13 letters as well.